Thank you everybody for coming out this afternoon. I want to introduce Claudia Gary, noted science poet, formal poet, teacher, and even publisher to It Takes a Community. Last summer, my husband and I took her crash course in meter at the Writer Center, and we decided that we thought that you would be a great person to bring to It Takes a Community, especially since I'm metrically challenged, and I think a lot of our other poets tend to be more free verse, so we thought it'd be great to have Claudia come, and here she is today.
Thank you very much, Marianne. And thank you all for being here. So I'd like to read a few poems from my latest chapbook, which is called Genetic Revisionism. And this is poems inspired by the sciences and mathematics. First, Higgs boson moments. This is an attempt to describe the Higgs boson in various images. 1. Glow. I should have known what always seemed to flow through and around you just to make me shimmer was energy and not mere afterglow. 2. Dreams. Then I was not imagining the feel. Those dreams of skimming, planing, floating, flying were vivid memories from before we had mass. 3. Toad. How is it that he trusts me? As if he waits beside me for a bus. Don't say a word, transformed within the cogent darkness in an instant when all seems possible. He starts to leap, is bolted to the ground by mass quickly acquired. 4. Figures in snow. And this is based on John Ellis's snowfield explanation of the Higgs boson. Here are the ones on sleds, the ones with snowshoes, the ones in boots. But I, in strappy high heels, seem to think I'm skiing. The better this world treats me, the more deeply I sink. 5. Cat's cradle. In the last move, you gather all the loops, then turn them to a spider web, invert it, pick one loop here, one there, and flip them over at once. They metamorphose from a wheel into a cradle, which you rock, and then a slip knot, vanishing into a thread. 6. Envelope. You laughed to see it lying there. All you did was pick it up and catch one corner. With barely a sound, it's open. Glue is gone. Whatever was inside has turned to time. This is called Ripples in the Fabric, and this is actually from a long time ago, when in 1992, George Smoot of Lawrence Berkeley Laboratory announced the discovery of ripples in the fabric of space-time that created galaxies and empty space. And I started to see some relation between that and my own feeling about poems that have a meter and rhyme. Of ripples in the fabric of space-time, we are alerted. In a place once blank, they spring from meter and inherit rhyme. How like the growing nautilus's climb is our galactic spiral, as a bank of ripples in the fabric of space-time, where human words may radiate sublime reflections, reasoned acts. What careless prank could spring from meter and inherit rhyme? Must we, like some inchoate mollusk, slime back into an abandoned shell that sank from ripples in the fabric of space-time? Or else, emerging from that paradigm, can we escape this sluggish holding tank and ripple through the fabric of space-time, springing from meter, inheriting line? Thank you. That was a truncated villanelle, just so you'll know. The next one I'll read is a true villanelle. When I say truncated, it was missing one stanza. But this one, if you ever want to learn about villanelles, you'll know how this is put together. It has certain lines that repeat. Does anyone know, familiar with villanelle? Okay, great. Yes, it has certain lines that repeat, and the idea is to use them to develop the meaning, and definitely, hopefully, not to be boring. This is about the stone carvings on the outside of the National Cathedral in Washington, D.C. by Frederick Hart. The tympanum above the central door, which features half-formed figures of men and women emerging from the void. It's called Ex Nihilo, which is the title of the sculpture. Between the lines was where we lived before this episode of light, vibration, sound that roused us from a stone's dim corridor. In dark, we never listened to the whir of planets as their orbits interwound between the lines of where we lived before. A rush of comets woke us. Then a roar of asteroids impelled us from the ground and roused us from the stone's dim corridor with thoughts of waking, walking through a door that did not yet exist. Planets drew round, drawing the lines to where we lived. Before our hands stretched outward, we were metaphor. Words not yet become flesh, thoughts still unfound and unroused from a stone's dim corridor. Until time settled in and brought the spore of life and breath. We are no longer bound between the lines of where we lived before you roused us from the stone's dim corridor. Maybe hold your applause. Thank you. So this is called, this is a sonnet, and it's called A Panpsychist Confides in the Universe. Did anyone read about panpsychism? Yeah, this was a couple of years ago. I saw an article on NBCnews.com, and one quote is, the notion of a conscious universe turns out to have prominent supporters in a variety of fields. You know, the idea that the whole universe is conscious. So, this is called A Panpsychist Confides in the Universe. Ours was a lovely secret while it lasted. Now, astrophysicists lay claim to you and turn their telescopes to rummage through the sweet coincidences we once tasted. My thought experiment was never wasted, thanks to your expertise. But what they'll do is nail you to a grid and misconstrue their wonder. As with farms bulldozed and blasted by speculator heirs, you're bound to see surveyors measure you for standard-sized parcels, mark straight lines, lop off hills, untree. Still, you and I will not forget the prize of intersecting fates, the cloudless view of oceans, galaxies we always knew. This one is about acoustics, in a way. It's called Switzerland in Passing, and it's actually a memory of an experience when I was, it was years ago, I was on a Eurail trip and had decided to spend a little more time in Florence at the expense of seeing Switzerland. So basically, we took a sleeping car from Italy to Luxembourg, and I woke up at some point during the night to a sound I had never heard before. And here's what it was. Switzerland in Passing. Here, see me here, summoned from sleep, I lean on the glass of the wagonly window. Climbing and crouching, the track winds and twists. Is it a light or a song that has called? Syllables race and ring through the air. Now, see me now, cry the hills through the wheels. Sparks from the track have gilded the Alps and turned them to bells.
But what was it
It was the sound. It was the sound of the train on the tracks. Da, 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 da. So I tried to replicate that rhythm in the poem, as well as sort of what it was about. Thanks for asking. I don't want any mysteries to be left so this is called toxoplasmosis. This is a little gross. Here's the inscription, or the epigraph, which is based on an article that was in NBC News in 2013. Toxo can find its way into the human nervous system. There's evidence of a connection between toxo and changes in mood or personality, and perhaps even conditions such as schizophrenia or bipolar disorder. Now, I don't know whether there's more known about this or whether it's been disproven or anything at this point. That was 7 years ago. But it made me think a little bit about how adorable cats are and how much people love them. So, toxoplasmosis. The brain's a delicacy after all. Why else would creatures' strongest armor shield it, resisting talon, pincer, tentacle, and beak? Still, certain tactics have unsealed it. Zombie ants, spiders, crickets, caterpillars, ladybugs, birds, fish, crabs will make a beeline, subsisting to obey whatever slithers through entrails to their brain. Then there's the feline, in which this Toxoplasma gondii has found a way to cultivate and bring crazed mice to court its hostess amorously. They lose. Her droppings launch another fling. So if you own a cat and are bipolar, consider whether Kitty's your controller. So, one small step. This is a villanelle again, and this is about. Did anyone read back? This was a number of years ago too. Neil Armstrong's quote. Someone said they proved that there was actually the pronoun, the article a, before the word man. That's one small step for a man, one giant leap for mankind, and that he wasn't being redundant as was accused of. So, and it was based on software. Someone's software found that missing a. So they said. This is in memory of Neil Armstrong. Since Peter Ford has clarified the sound once uttered on the moon but dropped in Houston, here's one small step. The missing A is found. Our man Neil Armstrong voiced it on the ground, the moon ground, by the dust he stuck his boots in. Now this man Ford has clarified the sound and shown we gave poor Neil the runaround, implying his attention span got lost in his one small step. The missing A has found him quiet and reclusive. Did we hound the institutions he had sunk his roots in? Well, Peter Ford has said this one is sound. The A was always there. Ford's proofs abound. He severed every branch a doubt could roost in. All in one step, one missing A now found. And though some giant leaps have gone aground, Apollo's man has gained a little boost in this Peter Ford, who's clarified Neil's sound in one small stepwise mission, one A found. And that is intended to make fun of OCD. But, so, how much more time do we have for this?
Oh, how, you know,
We started maybe about 10 minutes late.
yeah,
So.
10 minutes if you want.
Sure.
If you want to go 20,
And
that's fine.
There's also a mic if you want it.
Well, does anyone need me to use the mic?
I think we're
Is
fine.
everyone able to hear?
Yeah, I think 10, 20 if you want 20,
Okay,
so.
well, 15 maybe. So, and this is called In Binary. And this is more a math poem. The idea here is it describes something that two people discover they have in common. It's a love story. And And the stanzas are numbered in binary numbers, 001 and then 010 for 2 and 011 for 3. Does everyone kind of know what, this is the binary system? Base 2. So there's only 1 and 0s. It's pretty much the system that computers were based on, if they're not still. So I'll read the numbers of the stanzas. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 stanzas. 1. What brought them together were gifts without number, but binary digits enticed them to stay. A system that each had discovered in childhood cemented their fate at an offbeat cafe. 2. For her, it was somewhat like playing piano. He would make loops as if stringing small beads. Both had departed the realm of addition, since shapes, such as hands, had geometry's needs. 3. While nursing their coffee and ordering breakfast, asking more questions and ordering tea, learning how deeply their temperaments nested, each counted on fingers to 1023. 4. Of course people have only so many digits. Removing their shoes would be gauche, even here. And even for souls who are clever and quirky. He drummed on the table. Ellipsis, my dear. 5. Ellipsis? Why, yes, they continued on paper, by phone and by auto, by train and by air, till numbers approached, overtook, and divided what seemed an ethereal cosmic affair. 6. But while it continued, they often went walking by sunlight or moonlight to see what they'd find. They hung out with friends, and they hid out together. They listened to music, they cooked and they dined. 7. And strangely enough, though they had the occasion, never did either one count, while alive, on fingers and toes, all the way to 1,048,575. So, and then this is a very, very short poem about math. It's called The Cure for Insomnia. Fathomless fears that grind away my slumbers, I'll feed your gears imaginary numbers. This is called Ballet Routine. And I guess it's about teenage girls, but with a twist. Ballet Routine. Curves on a graph, controlled by X and Y, express acceleration or decline. But on her hips, what do they signify? Each muscle winning, losing her design? Plié, et dégagé, et balancé. She's at the bar with 7 other girls, all beating legs in rhythm as they sway to strict piano music that unfurls a private wish to conquer every ounce of flesh spanning each crested ilium. Each arc held hostage, mute as they all bounce and stretch their bodies, hurting, healing them. And then the class is over. Time to meet for pizzas, ice cream cones across the street. Transcribing an ER report. And that was a sonnet, and so is this. So. Transcribing an ER report. Her keystrokes open up the next dictation. Tall, thin Caucasian male, 30 years old, presents with suicidal ideation and says he also has a real bad cold. That can't be right. Rewind and check for static, listen again. The words still sound the same, but now she hears a sharp tone, symptomatic of irony. The doctor's not to blame, nor is he free to explicate his views. A resident, he works long hours this year, unrecognized, unthanked, paying his dues and learning how to tell disease from fear. She never learns the end, which seems a shame, but he's the one who has to sign his name.